declare the Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025 in session. We're going to begin tonight with a pledge of allegiance to the flag and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So tonight we have a couple of appointments, starting with the big one for a public hearing on setting the tax levy, a liquor transfer, and meeting with the superintendent of schools. But we'll start with number one on our business, which is signature of the warrants by our representative. Is there a motion to approve and file?
I'll make the motion to approve and file the
Or a
warrant.
second?
Second?
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Meeting minutes for October 28th, 2025.
Make a motion to approve.
Approve as submitted. Seconded
Second.
by Mr. Sad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Well, I guess we want to wait a couple of minutes because it is a public hearing. So let me jump to something we can get out of the way here. Civic room rental fees, you want to talk about that?
Sure.
4.3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board has just a proposal in front of them to increase the rental fees for using the various rooms at the Civic. As the board knows, we've been comprehensively going through making sure we are raising fees where appropriate. This is the latest iteration of that. We do anticipate ambulance and other fees coming back to the board in the next few months, but we have a recommendation on water sewer, on Civic room fees.
Mr. Chairman, I was
Yes.
thinking that, I think they were reasonable
Yep.
increases, so I think they were well thought out. I would make
Make
a
a motion
motion
to approve
to.
the recommended fees.
You took the words out of my mouth.
So seconded by Mr. Sad. Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All right, next item, 4.4, is a lease renewal discussion on 171 Manhattan Street. It actually is an assignment of the lease, and we'll take that up when we have the public hearing on a liquor transfer for that issue. We'll take it up at that time. We'll discuss the whole, everything that they're asking for, and then take separate votes at the end of whether we approve or disapprove of those actions. So we'll hold that for the moment. I think that gets us some time for 6:35 public hearing. Can you read the notice, please?
The Board of Selectmen has scheduled a public hearing on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, at 6:35 p.m. in the Harry B. Butters Chambers, Room 34, Norwood Town Hall, 566 Washington Street, Norwood, concerning the percentages of fiscal 2026 tax levy to be borne by each class of property in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 56, as amended by Chapter 369 of the Acts of 1982 and Chapter 79 of the Acts of 1983.
Thank you. So we have the hearing tonight. The discussion's going to be led with information for us from our assessors. Assessor Tim McDonough is with us, as well as his other committee members, if you'd like to take over and start the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, and members of the board, Mr. Mizuko, Ms. Woodward. I'd like to introduce my board members, Mr. James Grover, Mr. Bob Thornton. I'm sure you're all familiar with their many years of service to the town. The board is here this evening to give the options regarding the fiscal year 26 tax rate. As in past years, all of our commercial, residential, as well as our personal properties have been reviewed by our outside vendors for submittal to the Mass Department of Revenue. The PowerPoint packet in front of you has the detailed information to support the new assessed values. And I'm going to go through that kind of quickly because I'm sure you've had this every year, know the information, but it's worth pointing out some things. There are two developments that should be noted in this year's presentation. Our new growth for this year is the highest it's been since I've been a member of the board. This is directly attributed to the new construction of FM Global, which was approximately 70% completed as of June 30th. This included over 300,000 square feet of office space, as well as a brand-new 1,000-car garage. In addition, continued new construction at the hospital, as well as continued construction at Moderna, resulted in large increases in our commercial and industrial values. The end result is that the maximum shift this year is 1.73%, as allowed by the Mass Department of Revenue. Next fiscal year, we may see the Prospect Street development of 18 homes, as well as the 6 new homes being constructed on Dean Street being near completion, come into new growth for next year. Personal property continue to see increases in new growth, as it does every year, largely used to due to utilities. By and large, most single-family residential properties saw an increase in assessed value of approximately 6%. Condominiums saw an average increase of approximately 7%. 2 and 3 family properties increased approximately 7% respectively. Commercial properties were reviewed and adjusted on a case-by-case basis. It's important to note that the new residential assessed values are based upon sales of properties that sold in 2024, as well as supporting evidence from income and expense data. We'll now begin our PowerPoint presentation, beginning on page 3. It's just restating Chapter 40, Section 56. The Selectmen shall annually determine the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of property as classified in Section 2A of Chapter 59. In determining such percentages, the Selectmen shall first adopt a residential tip factor. Said factor shall be an amount not less than the minimum residential factor determined by the DOR in accordance with Section 1A of Section 58. Prior to the adoption of such percentages, the Selectmen shall conduct a public hearing on the question of their adoption. At such hearing, the Board of Assessors shall provide all information and data relevant to making such determination and the fiscal effect of the available alternatives. The DOR shall not approve the tax rate of a town until the Selectmen have held such a public hearing and adopted the percentage of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real and personal property. Next, page 4 explains basically the key components of the tax bills. It's the tax levy, which is a function of the budget process, and property values, which is our function. It's a function of the economy and of growth. Our presentation will provide historical data, analysis data on both the tax levy and property values. So if you take the tax levy and divide it by the property values, you'll come up with the tax rate. The next page is the fiscal year single tax rate without a shift. So you would take the levy divided by the real estate value. If there were no shift, the tax rate would be $13.17 for residential. Going to the tax levy, you'll see on page 7 the components of the tax levy history. We take the previous year's levy limit, we add in 2.5% as allowed by law, and then include the new growth. Now you'll see historically under new growth, the levels have been pretty much consistent. As I mentioned earlier, the FM Global, the continued construction at the hospital, as well as picking up Moderna, and all living within our TIF agreements that we have signed, have created that large amount of allowable levy, which you'll see down the bottom. The subtotal is the levy ceiling. Then you add in the exclusion of the debt exclusion, brings you to the maximum allowable levy, which the town usually does not go to. So if you go to the next page, you'll see the maximum versus the actual. The maximum allowed would be 114,213,325. The actual levy is 112,126,996. The difference is the unused levy, and a question was brought up earlier, Mr. Donnelly had called. The original projection for new growth was much lower. The difference between the actual projection and the actual is where the unused levy comes into play. And that could come into play in future years if the board so desires to go to the maximum levy. Page 9 is just a graph of the annual tax increase, tax levy increase history. Pretty much speaks for itself. There are 2 years with the overrides where you see the large amounts. back in 2020 and 2024. Then we'll move along to real estate values, comprised of two components, the residential real estate and the commercial. On the next page, you'll see residential real estate values have shown consistent growth. That should be pretty much obvious to anybody living in this area trying to buy a home. You'll see that property values have been increasing, 12% back in '22, prior to COVID, then 8%, 9%, and now as we're recovering still, you'll see the property values have gone up 6% in this past year. The value of a single-family home is also, as a result, jumped quite steadily. Just from last year to this year, you see about a $36,000 increase in the average assessed value. This year at $719,477. Again, average. There's going to be some $1 million homes. There's going to be some homes at $500,000 or under. But we like to give the board a broad spectrum of where the record has gone. The next page is the commercial industrial values. We have seen a large increase in those. Again, a lot of that can be attributed directly to FM Global coming on, which when you see 19%, it certainly stands out. But if you factor in a $210 million building that wasn't there basically last year, that's why you see the value of all the residential being incorporated. That would certainly be our largest property, individual, not combined, where Moderna would have 4 or 5 different buildings. So that explains the large increase there. The tax rates and the tip factor is the real reason we're here this evening. As I said, in the last, since 2019, we've tried to show you what the actual shift, maximum shift could be, and what the board's choice has been. And again, I explained earlier, this year, because of the large growth, or the large increase in industrial and commercial properties, our tax tip factor is not the usual 75%. And it's really dictated by the Department of Revenue. We don't get to choose the tip factor. We give them all the values, and they really decide your options for tip factors. And the maximum option that they're allowing you to make this evening is the 73%. The next page gives the tax rate history, which has been pretty consistent. You know, the board has, splitting between residential and commercial. It's a little more than double residential versus commercial. And the board has always taken that into consideration. The impact it's going to have on business, and especially the impact it's going to have on the residential taxpayers. So that's why you have the tip factor. The next page is the tax bills of the average single-family home in relation to all of our surrounding communities. You know, certainly some of them are much higher, Westwood and Needham and Newton. But when you get down to more like our area of Dedham, Walpole, Canton, Braintree. Braintree is usually the one that kind of jumps out that we're most comparable to, because we have a light department. So you can see even with this, the values of the average tax rate is this year still would be comparable to Braintree and slightly lower than Canton and Dedham. The Norwood commercial tip factor on the next page, just wanted to show you what other towns have adopted for their tip factor in last year. Most of them have gone to the max. Last year we were just under the max. Walpole, for example, does not have very much commercial property, so their values are lower. But if you look at, again, the Dedhams and the Braintree or the Milton and Canton, they've taken advantage of the max when they can. The next section just relates to the impact of the tipping on the tax rate on a single-family residence. As you'll see, the options we've presented to you are 70 to 73%. And if you go across, you'll see that the proposed tax rate what the effect would be on an average single-family tax bill as for fiscal year '26 compared to fiscal year '25. You see a very minor change. And again, this is average, not like everybody's gonna see $17, but we wanna emphasize that people realize. And it's actually just a small percentage, 0.2% increase. That goes all the way down to a 73%, where the tax rate is 973. And the residential rate actually, the change in the bill amount would go down 1.2%. So on the next page is the impact of tipping the fiscal year rate on commercial properties. Again, we're just trying to highlight what the impact would be. Again, because of the new growth, we're able to spread this wealth across more. You'll see changes in the commercial bills. They would go up at 70%. They'd go up at 1.8%. 71%, 2.4%, 72, 3.0, and at 73, 3.6. But again, and as somebody, you follow social media and say, well, they're making money, they should be paying a little bit more than obviously the residential rate. So that's why we've presented these options to you. Page 23, which is basically the last page, just puts them side by side, the impact that the commercial properties would have on a tip factor and the impact the residential properties would have on the tip factor. I know it's a lot of information, that's why I wanted to get it to you, but we're certainly here to answer any questions that you may have. We try to simplify it because it is very encompassing, but the bottom line is what's the tip factor and what's the end result gonna be for the taxpayer, and I think that's.
You've given this to us so many times, and as far as us, but this is for the public as well, it is a public hearing. Either of your other members want to add anything at this point?
No, I think Tim said it all. Basically, this year, to me, when I first got it, the numbers didn't make, it was like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. And the values, and especially commercial, as Tim just said, it's a nice problem to have. But that's the big story this year, I think, is that, but in the places you mentioned, everybody driving through town, you can see it as you drive, Oswald, FM Global, and Moderna, you can't see too well, but I see it every now and then when I'm up there walking around. But, yeah, so that's the big story.
I have nothing to add. Everything's pretty much in here that you need, so.
All right, questions, comments, board members?
I guess the only comment I would have, Mr. Plasko, is two. One would be, know the answer, but even though we are not setting a tax rate to the maximum allowable levy, does not mean that that excess capacity goes away from us forever. That remains opportunity for us to use in future years. We're not using it this year.
Absolutely, yep. That would be your starting point for next year, so you're not losing it. You're just living within what the expectations were. We just happen to do a little bit more.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, and it's, again, we've seen this for many years. This one jumped out at me. And, you look at when you go through the whole budget process, it's months and months, it's almost the whole year, but you're looking at what do we think the numbers are gonna be for the tax levy. We know that what the 2.5 is. We can do the math on that, but one big question mark, Mr. Donnelly, is new growth. Mm-hmm. The levy allowance for new growth that's gonna be experienced. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it here, we talking about it, like, last 10 years prior to this, the total levy was like 900, the new growth, 900,000, 1.1, 1.2, 900,000, 1.4, 1.1. So the average, just looking at 10 years, it was like $1.2 million, $1.3 million. Mm-hmm. So this year, and that's it's the only thing you can go by, because we don't get this certified until like
last week. Yeah.
So you go into the budget process, and it's hard because, you don't want to cut budgets, but you try to use the most realistic figures you can get based upon historical trends. And this number is an aberration, doesn't match up historically. So we had an average, like a last 10-year cycle of $1.2 million, $1.3 million. This year's 3.6 million in new growth. So that's, a multiple of 3, right? So it's nobody's fault. You know, we went through it, you guys are doing the same thing. The bad news is that you wish you had known that, but you don't get that until the very end of the process. The good news, as Tim said, is that you've got the difference from what you assumed it was gonna be, which was based upon real solid track record. And when it came in higher, the good news is you have that available, you know, that can, for emergency purposes, sometimes as soon as you set this tax rate, that's, would be available to throw on to next year's recap sheet right away.
Right.
So it's sort of like, I know you guys are going through difficulties with, you know, future, trying to project out to the future, and so this is a piece of welcome news that is, will be a safety valve, a little cushion going forward.
While at the same time, in this particular upcoming year, to provide some property tax relief to homeowners. which is
Absolutely.
an excellent opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I thought the numbers, something's wrong. I called him, you know, but it's, as
I
soon as you
said,
look.
trust me, Bob.
Yeah, but as soon as you look at the values, I said, oh, there it is right there. The values went so high, and again, everybody can see it just in the commercial values, I mean, right, so.
So is,
Just one more
Yeah,
other
go right
comment, and that's just to highlight the issue with Factory Mutual. It's great news. I think we're now seeing the benefit of their making a decision to stay in Norwood, number one, and to expand in Norwood. They had opportunity to consider other options outside of Norwood, but they expanded here. We gave them some incentives to do that, and I think this is speaks well to the town's plan for economic development. So aside from the property tax implications, I just think from an economic development perspective, we're seeing the fruits of all the work that was done in that avenue as well. Mr. Plasko, I'll stop there.
thank you. Mr. McDonough mentioned that these were estimates, average houses and so forth, and we're not approving these numbers, we're approving the shift.
Correct.
Technically, you could have a little math changes.
It could be
So,
pennies, but actually.
Once we set that shift, you can do your work and get the tax bills
Yep,
up.
we'll be getting right on it, because we want to get the tax bills out sooner than later by law, so.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Does anyone like to be heard on this matter? Please,
Yes, okay.
please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name's Jan Lent, L-E-N-T. Do you want my address? It's 33 Berwick Place in Norwood.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. So I'm more concerned about the tax rate for the future, particularly the assessments. And of course, the elephant in the room is the increased illegal activity in Norwood that has really escalated in the last year or two. I work at a fairly big organisation, and I can tell you that I'm involved in relocating people who move to Boston to work, the organisation I work for. And I can tell you in the last 6 months, nobody wants to touch Norwood because of the schools and because of the escalate. And I'm not just talking about recently. So I'm more concerned, I know the tax rate's going to go up for fiscal 26, but I'm concerned about fiscal 27, fiscal 28, what it's going to do to property values. And when I moved to Norwood I lived in Westwood for many years. I moved to Norwood in 2005. And my property taxes at that point were $3,200. They're now $9,000. Now, I pay those happily. However, my concern is the future. And this isn't a venue for my concerns, but my concern is about the tax rate going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comment? Any further? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing. Oh, comment?
I want to thank you three for doing a great job. I know it's tough, and I want to thank you for coming tonight. And I know it's tough. We're doing the best we can, and we'll get it, we'll correct it.
I appreciate everything that the Board of Selectmen do, the Finance Committee. I understand that you do this on your own time, and I get that. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you for your time and effort. And I just want to say, that last time you guys were in front of us, FM Global, we were talking about their load packages and all the good stuff, and we took care of it in the best way we could, and now their fruits, as Bob says, the fruit of our labor is coming through. But for the people in TV land, $660 million building is big stuff. in real estate. And that's, hopefully one more will be coming down the road or two, and that'll be a big anchor for us fishermen. So I think it's a real good thing for Norwood, and we're happy to have them, and, you know, that's Bobby, it's Mustang Blue. Everybody wants to come to Norwood. So
Well,
thank you for all your help and effort.
We have some very good choices up there that we haven't had in years past. Typically, I think the increase for the average residential has probably been 325, 350 a year. And look what we're looking at here. So it's tremendous. A lot of that, as has already been pointed out, is the new growth, and particularly the new growth, the incredible new growth from the commercial. And I want to emphasize that. And we work hard to entice these companies to come, to stay, to build. We try to treat them fairly and get them to, they recognize that, and therefore they stay and work with us. Mr. Donnelly kind of alluded to it. They have other choices most of the time. FM Global has a huge corporate office down in, just over the line in Rhode Island. They easily could have built this complex down there, but we were able to convince them to stay here and make this investment here. When Moderna came to town first, eventually they kind of tied their roots into us, but originally they didn't have to. They had plenty of other choices, and we worked very hard to convince them that Norwood was the place they wanted to do business, and it pays off. And I just hope people understand that the big benefit, part of the benefit they're getting is because of the work done keeping these commercial businesses, particularly these large ones, in town. So I'll stop my tirade with that. We have to pick a shift, gentlemen.
Mr. Plasko, should we make a motion to close the
sure.
public hearing?
Didn't I do that already? I'm sorry. Close the public hearing. Second, Mr. Sad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now, decision time.
Mr. Plasko?
Yes.
I'll offer a motion to set the tip factor rate at 71%. I can speak on that. I think that two things strike me is that looking at the combined chart, this results in, still results in a lower tax rate on the residential side, 9.82. And on the commercial side, I think it keeps the percent change for commercial under 3%. So I kind of think it's a nice sweet spot, if you will. And at 71%, it offers us future opportunities to consider 72, 73, 74, 75% shift factors in the future, which, if they're available. So I think this is an opportunity to recognize relief for the taxpayer, keep the impact to commercial rates fairly minimal, and gives us some flexibility in future years concerning the use of the tip factor. So that's my motion.
So seconded by Mr. Sad. I agree with your comments. Just to reiterate, for the average homeowner, that's an annual reduction in your tax assessment of $19. I think it's been since before Proposition 2.5 that we've had a tax reduction. So it's kind of incredible. I didn't think I'd ever see it again, but I stayed long enough.
You'll be here for the next.
Stick around for the next one.
You'll be here for the
Next one, yeah.
You'll be here for the next college bill.
If there's no other comments, I'll put it to a vote.
No.
All in favor of approving shift to 71%, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen, for everything. Thank you very much. Appreciate your work and help tonight.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck on the 12th. I'll bring my
Oh,
bells
yeah.
and, I'll bring my bells and whistles.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could I offer just a thought? We have a 7:15 liquor hearing. We have a 7:30 appointment with the superintendent in schools. If we think we can
Yeah.
have a meaningful conversation in 15 minutes, he is here and ready, but it is your call.
If we're not cutting you short, let's get you done. If you need more time, we'll wait. Good evening.
Good evening. Actually, I have a memo. You guys know I like memos, so a memo for you guys for tonight. Just kind of walk through some of the information that I will provide tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me tonight. I really appreciate the idea of having an update with me regularly. I know that was a conversation with you folks to try to get me in at least twice a year, just to give you a kind of update on the status of the school district, how we're doing. I'm Tim Luff, I'm the superintendent of schools. I will share that this update is from me. I'm not speaking on behalf of the school committee. I think it is one of my duties as the superintendent of schools to get out to any kind of constituents and give them updates on the status of the school district. So I did prepare a memo today for you all that kind of goes through some of the major initiatives that we're working on in the school district now. And I think it's a great idea and opportunity to provide transparency for the work that we're doing this year and then answer any questions that you obviously have about those things. I will share at the outset that if there are questions, I just need you to be aware that I'm not able to share any privileged information, any information about students or staff, and anything I have not yet shared with my school committee as my authority. But with that, I'll kind of go through some of the big ticket items, and then if you have questions about them as we go through, we can kind of go from there. So one of the things, and the first 5 here are really based on the strategic initiatives and my goals this year as the superintendent. As you know, the community did a wonderful thing and supported a student service audit that looked at all of our special ed services, our ELE, English Language Education services, nursing services, guidance, really all student services to really not only identify ways we can be more efficient in our practice, but to provide better services for kids. We thank the town for doing that. We've gone through a pretty substantial analysis of that at this point. One of the great things about learning about Norwood last year and having a very direct background in student services, that many of these things that were recommendations in the report, I had already started putting into place as a team, which is really good as we went through last year. And actually all the budgetary impacts of those recommendations were already in place for FY26. So a lot of good detail there. The school committee received an update on the analysis and action plan, the root causes for some of the issues that we found, I want to say, back on October 22nd. I'm happy to share that report anytime for you guys if you want. Some of the other things we did there were some special ed oversight. We found that there were some concerns, issues around who was at the table, who was supporting staff, who was supporting students, the expertise. Principals are really there to principal the building, right, to really look at all the kids. Student service administrators being able to really know eligibility criteria for students, what services students need, provide professional development for staff, for example, are all things that are now in place that we've seen some benefits from. We are trying to train our staff, so our higher need students are receiving services from expertise staff. So in our paraprofessional bargaining agreement, we actually increased some of their wages tied into some very expertise training for the specialized programs. So that's had some great benefits so far. We've kind of transitioned some of our specialized high need programs into certain buildings so kids have consistency, so they're not bouncing around from school to school at each time they go to a different grade level. So now if you're a student in a specialized program, you're going from kindergarten in one school and you'll be staying there through grade 4, which is really great. And obviously we have many more recommendations that we're kind of going through as we go through the year. Horizontal and vertical alignment of curriculum practices. So we want to make sure that we get the absolute best out of our kids, and we know that having practices from K to 12 and practices across grade levels, kind of identifying the islands of excellence for all the kids that we work with, and providing that professional development for teachers is really important to be able to do that. So with that, we created professional learning communities this year. So for example, all the grade 1 level teachers, for example, will be working together to identify the great things that are happening at each of the buildings and being able to expand on those things. So if it's happening in Boston, it's great. Hey, maybe this can happen at Oldham. So those teams are working together on some of our early release days to really work that way. So all of the first grade excellent practices that have been happening can now kind of go across the district, but also having teams like psychologists or special educators or our fine arts folks work from K to 12 to identify how that progression should go. So there's been a lot of great work there this year so far as well. We're trying to figure out how to really look at the data. We know the MCAS data that comes from the state. We see that, it's from data that was in the prior year. Sometimes it's not quick enough to really identify what strategies we want to put into place and recommendations. So putting together something called the State of the Union. We'll have a mid-year State of the Union and an end-of-the-year State of the Union. The mid-year is going to be presented to the school committee in January, and it's going to be utilizing Mustang metrics or kind of a data dashboard that we're using to look at academics, reading, writing, math, to look at behavioral and safety data, to look at access to programs, who's accessing what and where, and a variety of other things. So we're going to really bring that to the public and to the committee to identify any mid-year changes that we have to make, and then come back at the end of the year to identify what we need to do next year to make that better. So really taking the MCAS piece, which is part of it, but expanding it to a whole breadth of other information and knowledge.
And Tim, that's more in real time for the current academic year.
It is. So in January, we should just have the closeout of like the Renaissance data, which is our all of our benchmarks that we use internally, so we can see where kids are, how much progress they have made individually, but also in grade levels,
Right.
and then adapt and change as we need to mid-year, and then again at the end of the year.
That's great.
We have implemented cooperative learning professional development. So if you remember your old school classrooms, my old school classrooms, you're in there and the teacher will say, who's got the answer to that question, and 5 kids will raise their hand, right? And then the next question, the same 5 kids will raise their hand. So there's kind of a number of students in the background that aren't engaging. So cooperative learning professional development, what that does is it allows all kids at the same time to actually engage in the learning. So I was in a classroom today where teachers kind of asked a question about vowel sounds, right, or sounds of words. And each kid had a card, and then they would have to walk over to the next student, and they would each read their own cards, and then switch, and then read their own cards. So every single student in that classroom is engaged in that same, in an opportunity to learn that way, whereas in the past it would be, who can tell me the sound of this word, raise your hand. So we're have implemented those practices last year, and then we're continuing that into this year. It's really been a great strategy for engagement for all kids. As you know, we have career pathways. I went to a great med science program up at Harvard Med School about 3 or 4 weeks ago, where our Norwood students were running through a program where they were identifying and diagnosing an actual patient for an issue they had. They had the vitals on the board, they had the patient body there, they had the actual Harvard medical expert in the background kind of being the sound for the dummy, sharing what those issues were. And they actually diagnosed an ectopic pregnancy, which was amazing to see our kids of Norwood do that work. And the other classroom, they were learning to do sutures and opening airways, and it was an amazing event. So a lot of career pathways that we've been using, they've been really good for our kids as well. We're doing curriculum refreshes of our English language, ELA curriculum at elementary, and in math grades 5 through 12. We're looking at those this year. Just a variety of other things like our freshman academy that opened up this year to make sure our kids, as they transition into the high school, actually have that, have the ability to focus the organizational skills to maintain and manage and have a good high school career. We're looking at a 5-year strategic plan. That's going to be a lot of stakeholder input from everyone, hoping that you all are going to get involved in that. That's going to kick off in January, and we'll be looking for your input, but they a plan to have that complete in May of 2025. We have actually a very strategic safety goal within our strategic initiatives and in my goals. As you know, we have a director of safety, compliance, and communications this year that's really working on policy development, training for our staff, and discipline policies and procedures as well. Tremendous amount of safety training happening right now for our staff about interventions and practices. We're trying to operationalize our district safety plans in collaboration with the police department to make sure that instead of having a 300-page document that is in the hands of all teachers, it's actually very clear, concise pullouts of that to deal with certain situations as they come up. And I'll be updating that progress for the school committee in January. And all of that data will also be part of the State of the Union when it comes out in the school committee presentations in January as well. Obviously, a significant amount of work on the FY27 budget. Went to the Finance Commission a few weeks ago. I think, Bill, you were there. Really trying to look at a level service budget, but also trying to look at what are those big buckets that we can look at if we have to move towards a possible override in the future, so we can consider, not just what the money would look like, but what the either the benefits or the impacts of those budget deficits would be. Bring my preliminary budget to the school committee on December 17th. We actually have a 5-year financial outlook right now to have a level service. It's looking like about 4.1%. We won't know what that absolutely looks like until the end of this week when we have our preliminary done. We met with all of our cost center managers, department heads, each one individually, and talked through every single penny actually in the budget. So working through that, that'll be coming soon. Obviously, with the support of the community, opening the Coakley Middle School this year has been an incredible feat. It's a beautiful new building. The kids are engaging and they're loving it. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. We transitioned multiple staff over there. They're learning the new environment, learning how to teach in the middle school. It's very different when you're in 5th grade and then you're jumping up to the middle school, so there's some work there. We had changed our department chair model last year. That was 6 to 12 to now 5 to 12. So this is really making sure that the staff have what they need and the kids have what they need for individual departments. And we have a regular meeting still weekly to make sure that we're having proper project closeout, and then obviously our MSPC meetings as well. We have been somewhat busy with redistricting of elementary schools. So obviously over the past few years, there's been a lot of parent forums, surveys sent out, staff forums to identify a K-4 model based on the fact that the 5th grade kids were moving up. What can we do now to better spread our students and avoid overcrowding and kind of give some equity among all the buildings at the elementary. So we landed on 6 K-4 elementary buildings. We have notified now all grade 1 to 4 families for 26-27 where their kids' assignment will be for next year. We have just finished the shifting of all the general ed staff transfers this past month. So now it's really what are we doing with facilities movements, transitions for families, building communities, and those kind of things. So a lot of work there, but a lot of work has been done. And finally, I want to stress the human resource partnership that we have with the town. Having the HR kind of function and sharing that has been a wonderful thing for us. I have been in past districts where we've had our own HR department. I've been in past districts where the HR department was the town's, and the collaboration has been incredible. There's been a significant amount that has been done by Lisa's office, from things like, she's actually part of my cabinet, my regular cabinet meeting with my assistant superintendent and some of my other central office staff, to hear and listen and to be able to give us advice on different HR issues. Updated all of our staff handbooks, not just our regular ed staff and our special ed staff, but our transportation providers now, our food service folks, really doing a lot of great work there. Really focused on a very distinct process for hiring of high-level administrators. If you were part of the Director of Student Service search last year, or the high school principal search, there's a very detailed process that we follow that they assisted with. We have staff and student investigation processes that they assist with. We don't want our principals or our folks in the schools having any thoughts of bias when it comes to an investigation when there's a staff-student incident, so we have outside people. It's usually somebody in my office that can deal with the student issues, and HR kind of working through some of the HR pieces to make recommendations on different actions that we might have. I guess I want to give a big shout out to them. I brought in something called the staff recognition ceremony. So all of our retiring staff last year, as well as all of our staff that are attaining professional teaching status, or they're going into their 4th year in the district essentially. We brought them together for a recognition ceremony, both to honor the newbies that are starting out in their careers, but also the folks that have spent incredible many years in Norwood and supported their folks. And they were wonderful helping us do that. So really appreciate HR for that. Forms revised, created, we made it electronic, right? Everything passed was just kind of signing by paper. Now we have a good protocol going in place. Feeding into the HR recruiting and management system that was recommended last year at town meeting. Really excited to have that work and working with Lisa and her team and Tony on that. We have a new ARCS Ed program that does mandatory training for all of our staff. When I was hired, I got this packet. Right, I said, here, Tim, this is what you read to have your mandatory training. And I was like, okay, I signed off and I said, we're going to change that a little bit. So now staff are actually going through kind of an online video tutorial and questions about very distinct things, whether it be the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act or safety planning in our schools or just anything. So they're going through that, and HR's helped out with that. And finally, they've been meeting monthly with our school principals, HR, on different topics, but also Janice has just started coming in and actually has office hours in the schools now. So any staff member that wants to talk about FMLA or different access points to the HR resources, they're there for that. I'm working with our staff, and so if our staff are watching, they're not there because they're HR and they're there for a bad reason. They're there for your support, to give you support. And finally, we're meeting with Eric Fleming tomorrow evening as the school committee to discuss the town comprehensive planning process, so we can be part of that too. But these are just some nuts and bolts, some things I put together today, and I'll answer any questions about these that you might have for me at all.
Well, thank you. It's great to see you and to start this communication up face-to-face instead of cross-town meeting 4 or whatever. The only question I have is the governor's comments yesterday. Have any initial response to that?
So it's preliminary in terms of the graduation requirements? Yeah, so we actually have a policy going with the committee tomorrow on what our graduation requirements need to be, or should be. That does, the report that came out from the governor yesterday is a preliminary recommendation that won't be in place for more than a year. I'm actually going to be on a call with the commissioner tomorrow morning at 10 to talk about what that means for us. What I will tell you is that there's a lot of things that we have in place, like the MyCap program, and kind of these portfolio processes that we already have in place. So I don't see a substantial amount of change for us based on what I'm first seeing, but I just don't know enough yet to know the detail. But I will be reporting to the committee on that, obviously, and then to the constituents as we move forward.
Okay, Mr. Sapp.
I have a whole bunch of questions, but I'm gonna keep it simple tonight.
Sure.
And if you can call me tomorrow, the next day we'll chat about the other ones. But I have a question. I get calls from the safety officer, police department sometimes over the last year or two. People use my address, or some of the addresses I have, for enrollment. What safeguards do we have as a school board for people from the city coming out here and using people's address? And is there like a tax bill? Do you have like a list of things that they have to supply to say they live with their mother or their grandmother at a certain address? How do we verify that, and why is it they're using my addresses at that spot?
They like you.
They do.
I guess what I will say to that is the state has a very clear registration, legal residency requirement process, as does our school committee policy. And I won't go much further into that without getting into too many details.
Get into the details.
Okay. Well, if you'd call me tomorrow, the next day, that'd be great. Thank you.
Mr. Lincoln?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. This is really helpful. I think having you do this every 6 months or so would be great. The State of the Union that you spoke about, that sounds really exciting. I think one of the frustrations with MCAS is it's the previous year, and so the more we can get into real time, make adjustments, and it sounds like you're on top of that, which is really great to hear. And just congratulations on the middle school. Both my kids go there, and it's just been there a few times for school-related things now, as opposed to the building committee, and it's a really welcoming building, and I think that if you're a child that goes to school there, you just get a sense that the community is invested in you, which might not have particularly happened with the previous school in the same way, and I just appreciate it, and I think it came out great, and thanks again for all you do, and this was really informative. I appreciate it.
And that took the work of many people over many years. So, I mean, I was the tail end of that Coakley Middle School building project, and so all my predecessors and everyone from the community supported. Thank you.
Anything, Mr. Donovan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Don't feel obligated.
It's okay. No, I never miss an opportunity for commentary. Thank you for coming here. I think I really appreciate your coming here, and look forward to seeing you in the future, and the thoroughness of your report. Very thankful for it. I think it will go a long way to building an understanding between the departments and the boards regarding our mutual operations. I did watch the meeting where Director of Human Resources was giving a report, and I appreciated your commentary back to her about the success of the collaboration. Mr. Plasko and I go back a long time with a original study of the personnel bylaw, if you will. Back in the early 2000s, there was no human resources function at all here at the town, and so we successfully lobbied and brought forward a bylaw it's accepted by the town meeting to establish an HR department with one person. And at that time, that we had designed it as a mechanism to provide HR services to general government. And to see that that process has now evolved to the function that Mr. Plasko oversees from a general government standpoint for HR function, also providing services to the department so successfully. It's really gratifying to me, both as I'm a retired HR manager, as well as a former member of the original board, along with Mr. Plasko, to see a vision that we talked about in the early 2000s come to such a successful point. It's really gratifying. So I thank you for having Lisa at the meeting and for your commentary back regarding the collaboration between the departments. I think that's great. Thank you.
I just add to that when we originally were proposing the bylaw and setting up the department, schools wanted nothing to do with it. So we put in, I think it's only one sentence, one paragraph, that gives them the option to opt in if they want. So thank God we did that, if you're finding it helpful.
We appreciate the help of the department, there's no question. Amazing relationship.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Denny.
November 7/15 hearing.
Please, yep. We want to read the public notice, please.
Application has been made to the licensing board of the town of Norwood for transfer of the restaurant all alcoholic beverages license from Old Colonial Cafe Incorporated to Gemma Kitchen and Bar Incorporated, proposed manager Giuseppe Tropiano, under Chapter 138, Section 12 of the Massachusetts General Laws, as amended, for the sale of all alcoholic beverages to be drunk on the premises of 171 Manhattan Street, Norwood, Massachusetts. Description of premises is as follows: a 3-level restaurant, bar, and function facility, restaurant and bar on first floor, function facility on the second floor. Basement has storage and additional kitchen space. 1 entrance, 2 exits in basement, 2 exits on first floor, and 1 on the second floor. Public hearing on this application will be held on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025 at 7:15 p.m. in the Harry B. Butters Selectmen's Chambers, room 34, Norwood Town Hall.
Thank you. Before I begin, I just want to emphasize that, correct me, you're going to be our attorney?
I will.
Correct me if you disagree, but tonight we have basically 4 things to do. We have the public hearing, which is for the liquor transfer and the pledging of the license. We also, to move forward, will be looking for an assignment of the lease and a common victuals license. So the only thing that really requires the public hearing is the liquor license and the pledging. So we'll hold 1 hearing. Everybody asks questions about any of those matters. When we close the hearing, I'll take specific votes just so we make sure we've covered it all.
Sure.
Sounds good?
Sounds good to me.
The floor is yours if you'd introduce yourself. And
Sure. Attorney Stephen Delamere for the applicant Gemma Kitchen and Bar, and with me is Giuseppe Tropiano and Michelle Jewell. Joe, would you like a little background, Mr. Selectman? Sure. So my clients are here seeking a transfer of the all alcoholic beverage license from Old Colonial Cafe, which I know needs no introduction in Norwood. They've both been in the restaurant industry for 25 years. Joe has trained as a chef and previously owned his own restaurant in Wellesley. Michelle has been in the restaurant business for as well 25 years, most recently at Lewis's, and has a lot of experience in the bar business. So they're hoping to, with the Mr. Angelo, thankfully looking to transfer the license to him, put their own twist on it, and with their new concept of Gemma Kitchen and Bar, again with Joe's experience as a chef, adding some new taste to it, to what's already been an institution in Norwood. So we actually have a little mission statement they wrote up here. I'd be happy to give you a copy of to just explain what they're looking to do, if you don't mind.
thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a way, a little background, Michelle lives in Norwood, raising a family here, has been here for a number of years. Joe grew up in Norwood, graduated from Norwood High. He's now living in Foxborough, but has been over at Lewis's since 2007 and most recently as a general manager for the last 15 years. So again, very well entrenched in the community here, and looking forward to the opportunity to basically branch out on their own now with their concept and what they'd like to do. Happy to answer any questions you have, and they'll know more about it than I will, so.
Sure, okay. Questions from board members?
Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
It's a big endeavor. You do a great job there, and you're gonna do a great job over there, and you got big shoes to fill. Paul's a fixture in Norwood, and you're young enough. You graduated what, 87?
98.
No, he's pointed to me.
No, but I think you guys will do great. Congratulations. It's a wonderful move for you guys laterally, and it's just gonna be a pleasure to keep that thing going and know it for the next 30 more years, 50 years.
Appreciate it.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Yeah, just, I think this is really great. You know, sometimes when an institution closes, it's sad, and maybe there's no one to come in, and then, you know, someone turns in a license, and it's just, those aren't the best kind of hearings, and so this is exciting, because I think it really is sort of like passing to the torch type of thing, and just wish you much success. It's great that, you know, you're already embedded in the community, you know the character of it, you know the patrons, and I'm sure, you know, your plan to make the restaurant yours is informed by all of that. So it's really exciting. You know, if someone came in from out of town and were presenting the same thing, I don't think we would have a problem with it, but it just, you might feel a little more unease with how successful they might be. And I think in this case, you know, there's a lot of confidence in what you can do.
Appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Donner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it's a very important building to Norwood. Obviously, you know that. It's a historic building in my eyes, very historic. And looking at your applications, I'm very pleased to see that that you have good experiences beyond working in town for Lewis's, but your other experiences with restaurants. That's an important factor to me. I think that gives me comfort that should this be approved, it appears that you are, it's going into capable hands. We want to see that, that success in that building, as we do own it. And it's bittersweet for us in some ways too, because I think all of us have a long-time love for the OCC and for Mr. Angelo and all he has done for the community and for downtown for this past, I don't know how many years, but it's really good to see, yes, it's really good to see that that building continue to offer what it offers to this town. So your application looks very good to me, and should this be approved, I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I only have one question. You know what you're doing?
We hope so, yeah.
You've been planning it for a few months, so I figure by tonight you should have an answer.
Yeah.
You're ready to go.
Yes, we
All
are.
right,
Ready to go.
good. Is
Oh,
a public?
sorry, I had one additional
Yes, go
I'm
right
sorry.
ahead.
In terms of a transition, is there any downtime, like for renovations or updates? Is there any period of time that?
We plan on, obviously, you know, we have no idea the time frame.
Yeah.
But mostly all cosmetic. You know, furniture, we'll get all new furniture.
Yeah.
You know, put our own little spin on it. You know, flooring, bathrooms, stuff like that.
But in terms of
Yeah.
like the kitchen capabilities, that's all good.
Oh, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get some of our own equipment in there, stuff like that, but most of everything else in that kitchen is usable.
That's great.
Yeah.
I should also add, you had a good vote of confidence from owner of a local brewery here in Norwood, Mr. Adam from Castle Island. And
Fantastic.
I'm being a fan of Castle Island. I'm glad that your restaurant will operate with that brand as well.
All right, this is a public hearing. I'll open it up if there's anyone wish to speak in favor or opposed to this application. Any final closing comments, Council?
I don't think I need any, thank you.
Okay, knows when to quote, he's ad. Motion to close the hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All right, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, we want to take a few votes, and I think it's just nice that we take them in a particular order. 4.4 on our agenda tonight was a recommendation from the manager to transfer the lease. We're not going to transfer the lease, we're going to approve assignment of the lease. And that would be between Paul R. Angelo, Old Colonial Cafe, Inc., and Gemma Kitchen and Bar, Inc., in accordance with Section 14 of the lease between the town of Norwood and Mr. Angelo dated October 11th, 2029. Do I have a motion to do that?
So moved.
So second?
Second.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Next item is they want to be in the restaurant business, so they need to issue no common victuals license. I have their application here today. So they would like us, common victuals license aren't transferred. Everyone gets their own license. So we want to issue a license to, a common victuals license to Gemma Kitchen and Bar, Inc. for business at 171 Manhattan Street, Norwood, Mass. Premises as described in their application.
Motion to approve the CB license as submitted.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous? Okay, and the last and the big one. Approve of the all alcoholic beverages license to be drunk on the premises from Old Colonial Cafe, Inc. to Gemma Kitchen and Bar, Inc. to be used at 171 Manhattan Street, Norwood. Further, to approve the pledge of the license to Paul Angelo, and conditioned on all obligations to be paid in full to the town of Norwood before said license is released.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Best of luck.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We'll pronounce it right from now on.
Did I mess it up today?
It's okay. Take care.
Congratulations, happy holidays.
Take care. Yeah.
Luck.
I saw the other day.
Huh?
I saw something.
Did you?
Foxborough this weekend, big Super Bowl game for
I
Foxborough.
know, on the 6th.
Jack Martinelli.
All right. What does that take us to?
I think we can go to new business.
Liens.
4.1, go open that window.
4.1.
Yeah.
Municipal liens. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Annually, as you know, we ask the board for approval to place liens on water, sewer, electric, and broadband accounts that are not currently paid up to date. That list is before the board, and we are seeking your permission to do so, as is our practice. One note I always point out was you look through the list, if you see anything that says skip for account/location, that just means that there is some issue or dispute with the account, and we always play it cautious. If there's a problem, we won't place a lien on it until we've resolved the problem and the next lien set comes up. So that might be a case where somebody had a meter issue or there's a problem with the bill or something's being worked out. We always take the cautious approach before placing a lien on the bill.
I think that had a lot to do with just the switch over the system from the metering system.
Sometimes it does. Other times it could be as simple as a cable account where somebody called and they don't think they had something for a few months. It could be a $5 or $5,000, but we try to just pay attention to the ratepayers, and we're not looking to place liens if we don't have to. So if there's a concern, we always just hold off until things have been resolved.
Anything further? Any action?
Motion to approve.
So second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 4.2, the Town of Norwood Capital Stabilization Fund Policy. Let me start that, turn it over to Mr. Donnelly, and then any other comments or questions from the other board members. As you know, we oppose the funding with $2 million in free cash to the stabilization fund at the recent special town meeting. However, it did pass by 4 votes. So we must accept the decision of town meeting and do what we can to make it work best as we can and as effective as possible for the outcome of the community. The Finance Commission had proposed an outline of a policy for the use of this fund. While we tried to point out this should have been done when the fund was approved by town meeting, State Law, Chapter 40, Section 55B states that time of creation, any stabilization fund, a town shall specify the purpose of the fund. And for our own financial policies, it states that setting up a special stabilization account to be known, schedule future projects for future projects and expenses, known future projects and expenses. I personally don't believe this special fund was established in that way. It's too broadly defined for my liking. I also am concerned of negative effects this could cause for our operating budgets and future bond ratings. That said, Mr. Donnie and I were assigned to meet with the Finance Commission to work on this policy, and at this point, we do need a policy for following regarding this fund. Bonding agents will be looking for such a policy. The one before us tonight was prepared by our CFO, Mr. O'Neill. It is designed to be as tight as bonding agents will be looking for, and at the same time, trying to remain as general enough that the town maintains a reasonable amount of flexibility to use of these funds. While philosophically, I might argue of some of the changes, I do understand where Mr. O'Neill is coming from, and believe this policy is what we should be adopting at this time, and recommend that the Board of Selectmen, Finance Commission, and School Committee all approve the special capital stabilization account policy as prepared by Mr. O'Neill. Mr. Donnelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I covered a lot of the bases there. So what sits before you today, as Mr. Plasko has indicated, is a result of the draft policy that Mr. O'Neill prepared and presented to the Finance Commission on the 20th of November. Mr. Plasko and I were there, and it was a good discussion among the Finance Commission and myself and Mr. Plasko regarding what we saw as improvements and enhancements to the policy. I think Mr. O'Neill has done a good job crafting it. And I would recommend that we do approve it. It does provide some structure behind regarding the use of the stabilization fund policy. I would note that one of the things that I think we as a board, working with our partners in the Finance Commission, need to be aware of is this is a good tool, I believe, to proper use. The policy itself provides guidelines in terms of what kind of projects could be funded from this reserve. It also provides us with a target range of funding of the fund itself. I think going forward, there's two things that I think we as a board will need to be aware of, is that when we are looking at a capital need that this particular fund may provide an opportunity to use, I would recommend that any expenditures from this fund would be done at our Springtown meeting. The reason I recommend that is, although this is a good tool, we have a number of reserves and other needs that we also need to keep in mind that we may have a priority as well. So when we talk about our use of, for example, free cash to fund some of these reserves, we have to remember that we have other needs, and I think we need to work to prioritize those needs. And what comes to mind to me is we recently created a reserve for the pension reserve, a reserve that we use in the event that there is a market correction that brings down the funding ratio of our retirement plan. A sort of reserve to help us through those bad economic times. But Mr. Mizuko and Mr. O'Neill, I'll follow up with you. But looking at our overall retirement needs, I think we also, when we're looking at reserve funding, we have a good funded ratio for our retirement plan. We're just under 80%.
We are.
But it's been pretty flat for the last 5 years. And, we may have a priority that we may need to address that. And I just want to keep that in mind as we make decisions on other reserve fundings, including the stabilization fund. So this is good. I think it's a little work on our part to make sure it's employed properly, working with the FinCom to do so. But I really strongly would recommend, from a practice standpoint, that we bring forward funding of reserves all at the same time at our spring meeting, and not, I just think we give some reserves maybe an unfair advantage if we're taking them off cycle and we're not looking at them in the context of other reserve needs, and as well as the operating needs. So that's a long way of saying that this is a very good, thank you, Mr. O'Neill, for doing this. It's a very good draft. It's needed, but it doesn't relieve us of the responsibility to employ it properly and fiscally appropriately.
All right, any comments or questions on the policy itself, Mr. Lane, Mr. Sad?
No, are you happy with it, Mr. Plasko?
I'm sorry?
Are you happy with it?
I recommend that at this point that it's solid enough that we should be having it in place, yes.
A motion to approve it.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Chairman, and I don't want at the risk of repeating what Mr. Donnelly said, I concur, and appreciate the work that was done, and appreciate Jeff's work, too.
Very good.
So you made a motion,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I will second the motion.
Made and seconded by Mr. Lane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. March town meeting, setting dates. Does everyone have this listed, or did I end up the only one with it?
We give it to everybody.
We all have it, you all saw it. It's very preliminary, it's if we have a town meeting, we could still not even call one. But anybody have any dates that stand out with them that would be an obvious problem we need to talk about, or can we use this as a preliminary plan?
Preliminary.
I mean, right now, as we sit here today, I'm not sure we have a defined need for a March meeting, but you never know between
Correct.
now and-
I don't
And we're not gonna
think,
call one for the sake of it, we're gonna have enough.
correct. This is just sort of confirming. These would be the dates if we did have a March town meeting. I don't know that we'll have any land use items, which is what we've been trying to do in March, ready. There's a few things we may want to consider. They may need more time, but we do need
It's
to.
only one or two we can do in April.
Correct, we could do them at the annual. This is just when we, just so the board knows, when we pick dates for town meeting, and this was part of the memo we sent at the start of the year, there's a lengthy process we go through where we have to block a lot of rooms, we have to block back up rooms, we have to go work back and block off space for information sessions, we block out vacation days, we move other projects. Town meeting is always the priority for anything that's going on in town, but to be fair to people using the buildings, and to be fair to people planning out their months, we always just try to know the dates ahead of time. If we don't use them, we don't use them. Less than 50% chance we have a March town meeting if you were to ask me today, but don't ask me in 12 hours and that could be different.
So to follow up on your comments, the reason we even talk about this is because of what's involved for town meeting members and the public in general. There's 23 different items listed here that have to be done, and in a time and manner to be prepared for a particular town meeting.
None of which actually have to do with the warrant, the yellow sheets, or anything else, so it's the logistics of it, we just like to plan out ahead of time.
All right, so, board approve this as a preliminary outline for a potential March town meeting.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Seconded by Mr. Sad, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Liquor and other licenses attached for the board's approval. Any questions, comments?
I don't have
Action.
questions. I'll motion to approve the licenses as presented on the agenda.
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Lane. No questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you. Do you sign those electronically? Do you need a particular approval of that?
Oh, no.
No.
Thank you. They were gonna sign it, thank you.
All right, we also have a couple of items for one-day licenses for Hometown Arcade, Norwood Portuguese Club, a band request from the Women's Community Committee, and a use of the Morse House by the Norwood Evening Club. Any comments on those?
Motion to approve all of them.
Motion to approve the consent, all 5, 1, 2, and 3, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. And a memorandum of items, 6-1 through 6-4.
Motion to file memoranda?
Seconded by Mr. Sad, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Managers update.
I will dispense with an update this week, Mr. Chairman.
Wow.
Wow. I'll take his time.
I was gonna bring a bunch of things and didn't because I didn't want to go too long.
I mean, I have things we could discuss, but I can sense,
Mr. Sad.
A couple things. Tony, a couple weeks ago, we mentioned the poles coming down South Norwood on the left.
Yeah.
By the pool.
Yep.
Why are they there?
The grant funding we had to install them, they had to be street accessible. So that's likely the only place we could fit them and not have to pay for them, for charging stations. And they'll serve the pool area and people using the sports fields and stuff like that.
I think it's a bad spot. I think it's a bad location. The kids are gonna pull them, the street plows are gonna hit them. I just think, can we put them in the back in the pool?
You can't, they have to be street accessible or we'd have to pay for them. That was unfortunately where the we're sort of always chasing the grant funding. For us to get the funding for them, they have to be on a street as opposed to in a parking lot. I would have much rather them been in a parking lot, but that's unfortunately where the money is.
Well, I happen to agree with Mr. Sad. I think it's a terrible location, bad spot. But my point goes to a bigger matter, I guess. I think any grants the town's applying for or getting, this board should be aware of it. This is an instance where we might say, we don't want that grant. If that's the condition we have to take, we don't want it. So all applications for grants or any grants that the state makes aware we're supposed to approve anyhow. So I want to make sure in the future we see them all.
Sure.
Couple
Go
more
ahead.
things. Are we gonna do that tonight, or is he coming in, you think?
No.
Well, I just wanna say, Paul, congratulations, new adventure for you, new chapter in your life. He's like Mr. Norwood to us, and we appreciate all the support and help you've given Norwood and the residents, and the sports people, and the programs, and the banquets. You've done it all, Paul, so I wanna thank you from the bottom of my heart. The Hall of Fame, Brian McDonough and the Hall of Fame committee, Jerry and Paula and Jimmy Sweeney and the rest of the committee. Great event on Saturday afternoon. Christian McIntyre, good luck this weekend on the Super Bowl. And Jack Martinelli, good luck with Foxborough on Saturday in the Super Bowl. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Donald?
Well, first of all, I do want to wish a speedy recovery to Pat Schick, probably one of Norwood's greatest volunteers. I spoke to her yesterday, and she sounds great, and is looking forward to returning to her usual presence here at the Senior Center as well as Town Hall. So if you're watching tonight, Pat, best of luck to you. It was great talking to you. I wanted to just let the board know that in regards to the annual review process for the general manager, we have our input collected. The director of HR, Lisa Yu, has done a great job compiling it, and I'll be talking to the chair about getting that information out to us and to Mr. Mizuko, and perhaps we can finalize that process in one of our January meetings. And the other update would be, before it falls off the plate for all of us, I know that we spoke in the past about getting to Mr. Manager suggested goals and objectives, and hopefully everybody's done that. I think that that's also something that we have agreed to do on an annual basis, and we're talking about FY26, and we're well into FY26 now. So if we're going to do this, we should get on it and hopefully nail that down in January as well. I don't know if you've received everything from us yet, Mr. Mizuko. If
You know,
not,
I'll have to just check my email to see which
that's
ones
a
I've got.
diplomatic
I do
answer.
remember getting yours, Mr. Donnelly, so
Did
I
you get
will.
mine? I sent it in.
I will double check and see which ones I have, and let you know.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's it, Mr.
Thank you. Mr. Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A late item, I don't know if we need to take a vote or if it's just something to make aware of. Last year, we had approved a holiday tree on the newly sort of improved cookie that's on Lincoln and Cypress, if you remember doing this. DPW
Yes.
assists with just
Yes.
securing it.
Yep.
I got a request from the resident again if we could do that. I had sent it to the chairwoman, but she's under the weather, so.
This is to decorate it, and everything?
Well, actually, yeah, just to actually have
Because
it.
it's already there, right?
It's not there. They want our permission to do it.
Oh, okay.
So if it's something we need to vote on, or if we can just,
I think we probably should to cover everybody and everything.
okay, is that okay to do in?
So that's your motion to
Yeah,
approve?
just make a motion to
Approve the
approve,
request to-
approve a request to,
Flower
place
tree.
a holiday tree on the island there, the cookie on Lincoln and Cypress.
I was going to say, in 100 years, somebody's going to read that motion and say, what do they mean, put a holiday tree at the cookie? But I don't know what it means.
There you go.
Usually have a holiday tree on a, holiday cookie on a tree.
Seconded by Mr. Sad. Any further? All in favor, opposed? Unanimous.
Other than that, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving and
Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you.
Mr. Sad kind of asked me if I was going to say anything about this box, and I quickly said no, but once in a while, selectmen will actually place bets other than on DraftKings. And tonight I won the bet with Mr. Mizuko that Mr. Angelo was not going to be here. Because tonight we did have a little presentation for him, and the purpose of the presentation was to acknowledge on behalf of the entire town, Paul's lifetime of goodwill and his superior, being a superior corporate citizen of the town. Starting with his own employee, he treated his own employees like family. His support of youth groups, his support of almost every fundraiser in town, and very generously. The individual in needs that he's helped over the years. He's just been an outstanding resident and corporate citizen, as I mentioned. And we wish him well in his new retirement. And we'll get this to him.
Well said.
All right. With that, I guess it's time for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.